Welcome back, everyone, and a quick word just before we get back into the action here. Play Versus is Riot's official scholastic partner for League of Legends, where thousands of high school players compete weekly for a state championship title, and players can also earn a varsity letter for gaming with their friends. Enrollment is open now for their spring season, so with preseason kicking off on January 31st, make sure you go sign up. Spread the word at your local school and visit www.playvs.com to get your team ready. And now we have maybe even more culture to add to this wonderful wonderful cycle that we do have here at Academy. First of all, welcome back, Joshi and Mr. Magical. But we got to get some art in the on the table here for that first game, because it was a doozy. All right, it was a doozy. It was a little bit of a comeback. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over here. I'm gonna start drawing something again. Okay. This is where you guys are gonna have to dissect what I'm drawing and try to guess it. Audience, if you want to get involved too, you can. We'll see how big brain these two would-be analysts will be. So I'm gonna go ahead and transition over now.
It's Viego's crown again.
It's Viego's crown. Oh no!
Chompers. It's a chompers. 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 It's chompers. Chompers? Chompers.
Chompers.
No, it's
chompers?
not.
Chompers.
Chompers. Yeah?
Could you imagine if they made that
Chomp,
kind of
chomp.
noise while it was going, just like the
That would be an interesting
just like
skin
biting
idea.
noise?
I mean, maybe if we
No!
get like a shark. Wait, what?
Wait,
I messed
was
it up.
actually Chompers?
It was not going
I
to
was
be an
about to say,
entire
but,
black
like,
image. That would be
There's
hilarious.
no way it could be what I'm just memeing about.
Golf. You're making fun of Cubby.
Yeah, it's golfing.
No.
Golf with friends.
No.
It looks like some kind of
Flag.
flag of some kind.
Yeah. Ward. Vision.
Ward. There's some kind of ward, but I'm trying to think of the context on
Right.
like why would it be a ward right now? Like is that thing in the background, is that like a cloud? Are we in the river?
I will say you're cold.
We're cold.
Yeah, but V cold.
We're getting
right
cold.
Now. V cold.
Okay. So taking a different angle from it, the next thing that I can
Turn
think
to me.
of is it's because there's scales. It's scales.
Oh,
Okay.
he gets
Ah.
it. Congratulations.
That was good.
Congratulations, Joshi. We scaling, all right?
We scaled
It
all
was
right.
literally a game about scaling. It felt like it was insane to watch IMT pull off what they just pulled off, and that's what came to mind for me when I was sitting here behind the scenes twiddling my thumbs.
I'm telling you guys, if they had just committed to the split push, it would have worked for TSM.
The sad part is there was a lot of scaling on the other side too. Like it was
They
just
could
all
have committed
scaling.
to the 1-3-1 and never try to fight ever again. You literally just set Viper and take over inside lanes. Anyone, if the team shows up for either of them, you just hard commit for the turrets.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game, right? So going back to the art, though, my next thought was like, I wonder if this is the hex gates that
Yeah,
potentially
true,
turned
true.
the game around.
The
and
real scales.
The yeah, well, I mean, I thought like the pole in the middle might have been like the portal, right? 'Cause
I
you got,
gave
like,
it
the
to you guys too
zoom,
fast
zoom.
last time. I had to take it slower. All right.
Yeah,
Last time around, I just
appreciate it.
I just let it go, and it was too easy. I need to make sure to use those big brains of yours. But in all actuality, it was a very impressive game from IMT, and the fact that they were able to utilize the composition that from the beginning of the game was set out for scaling, for late game potential, and to execute on it beautifully.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting situation, right? Where, again, one of the things that I always tend to look at is what are the engage tools for this composition? How easy is this to actually accomplish? And, seeing what Immortals was able to do, they're a fairly new team. They have a couple of veteran members that they can kind of turn to, but the way that they just built it up and just made it very easy for themselves, gave them a lot of tools, and the difficult composition that TSM built was, I'd say probably stronger, but definitely a lot harder to execute.
Well, I think it's like TSM did a good job with that composition. It was the one play from Takeover that completely tipped the scales. Taking your picture there, Mizzou.
Oh no,
favor
we've got
of
off the
Immortals.
deep end here. I'm calling it quits. I don't know.
It's your fault. I blame you for this.
Is there a way to get like some dragon scales in
Oh,
here so we can get like
no.
dragon tails? We can pull out a sleeping bag too, right? I broke him. I did it.
I'm not even gonna. Nope. We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about game number 2 because my goodness, Yep.
What did I just hear?
Keep going forward.
Yeah, I heard somebody who hasn't seen the sun in years.
But seriously, in all actuality, for me, it's gonna take a lot to come back from a game like that. I feel like, because it is the first series of the season, right? Like it's not all said and done, but that is pretty tilting to come in here and like have a pretty thought out play and have a good early game and have it kind of turn around and bite you in the butt.
Well, I'm going to take what Josh was actually saying in the game and use that here, where he was talking about, it could be tilting, but they have a lot now that they've gotten into the minds of Immortals. They have a lot of tools now going into this next draft where they could even set up an easier draft for themselves. That Tryndamere will always now be in the back of any team's mind when looking at this TSM, plus the Corki being a flex pick, no longer being hard committed to the mid lane just because of Viper. No other team really can provide that kind of flexibility with such a boring champion.
I was just nodding along because like, yep, you're gonna just finish this point. You're gonna throw him under the bus. It's gonna be fine.
Of course, I'm always going to criticize Corki Victor until I stop seeing it, and then I'll be like, okay, now I'm okay with seeing it. I just don't like seeing it every game.
If it's meta, it's not okay, right? Did we already show your segment,
I don't
Magical?
think we've shown my segment yet.
Okay, pretty sure if you haven't, it's on Twitter. You should go check it out because it's
yeah.
Go
check it out on Twitter if you haven't seen it just quite yet, because it is a insight into the madness of Magical that we will always continue to see. Where it's like meta bad, everything else much better.
I will say something I was very happy to see is that Jinx is still represented very well here in Academy, just like the rest of the world, and the fact that like. I get to talk about the ADC meta now. Something I don't really feel like I've gotten to talk about too much in the past, but it's very much utilized here, right? We got to see so many pop-offs from the bot lane on both sides last game.
Yeah. Wait, do we actually have... I think you're like the only AD carry person in like talent in general. Like there's not a lot of us.
I know Alk Battery. Shout out to Alk as a fellow ADC who's probably way better than me anyways.
We have a lot of support mains actually.
Well,
what does that say about the talent? I don't like. I feel like I can't get an answer. From
Betas.
Hey, hold on. Do you know my champion pool of support?
When I saw you go Viego mid, that's all I needed, man.
AP Viego mid. Don't forget it was AP.
I don't want to remember that.
I can't possibly forget it.
I can't possibly.
Don't you forget Vigar, Brand, and Malzahar. I'm gonna bring back Malzahar in the bot lane just for you, Josh, because Vigar and Brand are my style of bot lane.
People talk about like the Sigma grind set. We're gonna have to figure out what else. You could be like the Epsilon or something.
The Epsilon.
It's just like over there.
out there, and over there. Hopefully, we won't see AP Viego mid anytime soon in the meta, but we do see Viego, and it seems to be a serious comfort here today for a lot of the Academy teams.
Yeah, it's been omnipresent so far, at least on this stream. We haven't gotten to see what has been happening on twitch.tv/academy where the other games are happening, but I imagine it is very popular over there as well, just because it is very safe. It's really hard to punish these days, and you have a lot of versatility in the way that you are able to play. You can farm, like Magical has been talking about. You can go for a lot of early skirmishes. There's just a lot of value that this champion brings to any composition.
Well, we'll see if he's still got omnipresence here as guys are ready for game 2, so take it away.
Thank you there, Lennon. It's always good having Mazel with us to get us through until the next game. We got one more game left here in our final best of 2. We got more games for you over on the main channel, so make sure you check out twitch.tv/academy for more. But we got this one still to finish. Hopefully we'll have just as fun of a draft going into our final game between TSM Academy and Immortals Progressive Academy.
I'm curious to see how it is going to be, right? Because there's always your interesting and then there's my interesting, right? And I think this happened to qualify for both of ours because we saw a really good adaptation with the Malphite coming in at the very end, and it was pretty immediate, right?
Yeah.
They were very quick on their willingness to just snap lock that after seeing the chain where they're just like, yeah, is this it?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep,
I think it's one
that's
of
what we
those
wanna
Venn
play.
diagrams that's like we barely ever cross over, but like when we do, we get Tryndamere mid.
Yeah, I mean, I think it always. It took me a moment to process. Man, there's not a lot that I think is going to qualify for both of them because, you know, I will say it, as much as you despise Corki and Viego, I cannot stand when Tryndamere is good, right? This champion is so unfun to play against. It's so bizarre to play with, and, you know, the kind of people who are willing to play it, let's just say I'm watching you. I wish the Tribunal was back, but
I miss AP attack speed, split push Tryndamere.
why do you do this to me?
Because I'm crazy. I mean, hello? That's like what I do. But look, we're back into draft. We got Lulu, Lee Sin banned
Shall
as
I
the
turn
first
in my badge and rifle as
Doesn't
well?
seem- no side swapping coming in from either of them. Caitlyn,
Yeah.
Charlie, looks pretty samey when it comes to the draft so far.
Yeah, can I just identify that ever since Team Solo Mid just shortened to TSM, like their thing has gotten so short, and then you have Immortals Progressive.
We must all
They've gone the exact opposite.
Exact opposite. So we'll see how much that plays into their favor. They were able to pick up the first game, and as they remain on the red side of the map, it does mean that Viper will not be getting the same kind of counter pick as he often relied upon in previous games. I think Cubby had a really good stat that he was the one who got counter pick more often than any other player in Proving Grounds in 2021, and wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being similar this year as well now that he's on TSM.
And look, you know, I'm curious to see how that's going to work for Viper, if they're going to go for a very similar kind of wait out, see what they can bait out from Immortals. But I'm more curious that we see Jarvan, Lee Sin ban, not Viego or Xin Zhao. Both
Or
champions,
Graves.
Yeah, or Graves, or Jinx, or Thresh. A lot of these champions we had seen in the previous game. I'm sure it's slightly different in the pick bans coming in from both teams, but it leaves open almost everything that we had previously seen.
Yeah, the core is the same so far. I mean, the bans have been the only thing that have changed. If it's going to be a continuation, this will be Nautilus once again. And hey,
It is.
yeah, to borrow the same chess reference, this happens all the time. If you watch like the World Chess Championship between Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi, they played like the first 7-8 moves for like 5 of their games, right? And so far, I'm expecting a very similar thing. If this is Viego, we are almost exactly where we were before,
Salty
and now
run
is
back.
where we have to throw a wrinkle.
Salty run back. Salty run back.
I'm not opposed, honestly. I think both of them had a lot of play. There was a lot of opportunities in the mid game for them to have played that better. But if I was on Immortals, I would not be wanting to have the exact same draft here just because the Tryndamere
come on.
was so threatening.
Come on, you
Come on.
salty run back. Salty run back.
Okay, it's the same band.
Yeah, I'm
I
telling you.
will
We're getting the same bands. No Tryndamere
But
ban. No LeBlanc,
That does
same
mean,
ban.
okay, how much do you dislike Corky Victor as opposed to getting the salty run back?
I immensely despise it. So I would much prefer those champions both be banned personally. But that's just me.
But a salty run back would, in fact, satisfy the magical,
Yes, but
is
it
what I'm
has to
hearing.
still be Corky top. It has to still be Tryndamere mid into Victor. So a lot of these things still have to remain the same.
Okay. Graves is banned this time around. Now, that is, at this point, a solo lane ban. It's something that Viper can definitely play, and something I imagine Takeover also has it in his pocket. But that was banned in the first half of the last time. We are getting very close.
Well, I will say...
This was a Victor.
Well, the thing is, it was a Victor. They can pick the Corky here, but a wrinkle has been thrown into this with the fact that the Graves not being banned in the previous rounds gets banned here, which means Gwen is now open, something that has
True.
been pretty powerful. Good split pusher. You talked about it before, how much damage she's able to provide. But,
No.
but, no, the thing is, I don't think you can go Corky and Tryndamere here because you'd actually want the Tryndamere to be in to the Gwen. And if you pick the Tryndamere here, yeah, see, there you go. That's what I would expect. The
Okay,
Gwen would
okay,
be what
here's the wrinkle.
No, see, that's what I would expect. This is genuinely what I would expect here, just because you really wouldn't want to put the Corky into Gwen. It'd be difficult, especially early, nor would you really... maybe you can go Tryndamere into her. I haven't really seen that matchup too often.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a big fan of the Jack, so okay, if they go with the Malphite, that would be very funny to me. It is not bad in this matchup, right? Just because Gwen relies so much on attack speed, but... oh, okay. You go, do it.
Yes! We get Singed. I love it. Thank you, Concept. Concept, we didn't really get to talk about too much before, but he's one of these players that has a very unique champion pool. He doesn't tend to play a lot of what other people often will go for. Like, you talked about the Jack, but that's more what I expect from Tony Tom. Urgot, Singed, that's what I think of when I think of Concept.
Yeah, I'm honestly with you on this one. I'm really excited to see the Singed as well. I'm a big proponent of Singed mid. I haven't gotten around to testing out as much Singed support as you have, I'm sure, but it is going to be this kind of champion that is one of the few people that can still use Predator, and it is so obnoxious for these teams to try and deal with because it takes so long to run down Singed, and with the amount of movement speed he gets by running through your team, it can be really difficult to actually lock him down, and with the grounding on his W, again, makes it so there's not a better word for it, obnoxious to deal with.
What you call obnoxious, I call fun.
Well, one of his things is Noxious Slipstream. I believe that's his passive, where he gets all the extra movement speed.
Zoom.
So it's pretty close. He could just call it Obnoxious Slipstream.
No. Because he's fun. He's fun to play. Yeah.
Fun to play as.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's where we stop it. I don't go past that. I don't think that far ahead.
There's a very interesting argument that I heard a long time ago from some people on Twitter, I think it was, where they were saying, one of the most important ways to determine whether or not an ability is well designed is it should be very fun to cast and not necessarily that fun to get hit by, but it does need to be fun to cast. And I feel like there's an interesting thing. So I'm curious what your opinion is on the ability Smoke Screen from Graves, where
if you build full AP, it's a lot of fun.
I knew I was asking the wrong person, but we'll come back to that.
We'll circle back, because we're into Game 2 of our final Best of 2 here on the Face It TV channel. Running down, setting up the line of scrimmage, not going to see anything cheeky. No level 1 shenaniganeries to make me happy.
Well, we still got some time.
They're not going to fight, let's be honest.
Yeah, but there's hope.
I've lost hope long ago.
There's a lot of jaded people in the League of Legends scene. I'm still not convinced that you're one of them.
I'm jaded that I don't have my AP Scion.
Some things you should be jaded about.
I miss old Poppy.
We can have this conversation as well, Magical. I think it's
a lot of fun too. Full AP top lane. Old Nunu too. Got a pentakill on that once.
Dude, do you remember when supports were so useless that the best thing you could do was run around and give your AD carry 2 recurve bows?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that was Kale. That was new. There were literally 2 of them that were like that.
Yep. But I do remember I do remember those old passives. Hey, well, the healing was technically not the passive, but it was a lot of fun for me at least, because what I would do is I would give my ADC all the attack speed. I'd leave them and go somewhere else and say, "Have fun. I'm gonna go dance mid lane."
Oh no. Well. We do know that, we do get some level 1 fighting, a little bit of shenaniganeries, but it's not going to result in a kill at this point, and Joy was able to walk that one out.
Look,
but we
it's
see
the
both
salty
junglers.
run back bot lane. I'm not expecting anything different.
Well, I mean, they did fight last time as well.
They fought this time. That's the same. Yeah. Why bother? We don't need to bring it up. They're doing the same thing.
Well, we do have a very different... Did he miss like that? He did have a very bizarre Nautilus the first game. Or was that in our first series?
No. It was in the first game. Because
okay.
The thing is, last game there's 2 defined ages in that game. There's the early game age and the late game age. They're vastly different games from one another. As here, it's the same as last time. The same early game age.
Which one am I?
Because you like meta, you're a late game player. You don't play for the level 1 fights.
Okay, so I am the boomer age is what I'm hearing, so. Okay, I'll take it. But we do at the same time, we have a couple of boomers coming down towards the bottom, not boomers, zoomers, excuse me, coming down towards the bottom side of the map with both Chad and Hyper potentially looking for a skirmish at the beginning of the game, and Hyper knows Chad is here.
Oh, I like this play right now. He's waiting to see if he can find him out. It's going to be secured by Chad, but Hyper on Xin Zhao is still scary for Viego to have to deal with, especially when you have the bot lane that can back him up, but Takeover is getting bullied by Pretty. Very, very different game because of the change of champion mid.
Yeah, it is going to be a situation as well where we see Hyper is able to pick up the first Scuttle Crab, but it's not the same kind of prize as it used to be, but is now going to be giving up the top side one just because Pretty has so much more HP than Takeover, and even though they're both only contributing auto attacks, Corki's auto attacks still don't do a whole lot of damage just quite yet, so Chad will be able to pick this up, recoup some of his losses, and because he's first to the punch on the top side, potentially looking to upset the lane of Viper.
You know, normally I don't like early TPs into lanes, especially with the change that came in to TP recently in the offseason, but I kind of like this one at a Takeover. Takes an early recall despite the fact that his lane got shoved in and he had to eat a minion wave at the turret. He uses that time to go back, get an early tier of the Goddess, because that is one of the things that we've seen for Corki's where he struggles, trying to get the Muramana immediately with the Loot and Tempest right afterwards. Well, you get the Tiara of the Goddess immediately, it's going to scale up a lot faster, meaning you're going to have that power spike way sooner.
It's also really helpful to just pick this up early just because you do kind of need like a Doran's or a Corrupting Potion in order to kind of survive some of the early damage that Victor has, because Victor has a pretty decent like levels 1 through 3, and then, you know, his 4 and 5 aren't great, but they're better than Corki's for sure.
Look, I don't know if that's true, because last game I didn't see that. Nor did I see it this game.
Well, is it like object permanence for you kind of thing? Like if it hasn't happened in the last couple of...
if I haven't seen it, yeah. If I haven't seen it either.
Oh, okay.
I have to visibly see it.
If it's not currently happening, it's not real?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So you've heard it here first. Magical is an Uber Zoomer.
Look, I play Blitzcrank mid. What do you want from me?
You're like trying to identify as both a boomer and a zoomer is like giving me a lot of like confusion.
I am an unusual person. Do you not know this, Josh?
All right, well, as unusual as that is, let's also take a look at some of the unusual things that have happened in the game, which are these large CS discrepancies that we are already seeing. Up top lane, down 18 CS currently is Concept. In bottom lane, down 12 is Instinct. And in the jungle, Chad currently is notably ahead of Hyper in terms of his actual camps. And this is kind of that style that we were talking about previously, right, where we were saying that Viego oftentimes is going for this farming style in order to become relevant later on in the game. And Xin Zhao needs to be a bit more impactful early on in the game, especially because there are more melees this time around for IMT.
True. And at the moment, the fact that IMT had a pretty decent lead in their mid and bot lane, especially for Arrow. We saw what was able to happen once Arrow was able to get himself a sizable gold lead, especially when it came to CS and kills. Started taking over the game, especially when they start playing into his hand. And then Pretty having a far easier lane this time around. Not having to get shoved underneath the turret as Victor, getting a CS lead. Feels pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Pretty looking a whole lot better now that he is in a matchup that I'm sure he has more experience in than the Tryndamere. But the other thing that I kind of want to look at right now is the fact that neither team is currently making any plays for this early game Dragon. But there are 3 pink wards controlling the bottom side of the river for TSM. And it is going to be putting them in a position where they can potentially try and take this over by hopping over the wall. But Hyper not looking to do that just quite yet. He's on the opposite side of the map because he knows that Concept, now that he's got the Predator boots, can look to gank mid lane very aggressively.
Can look to gank mid lane, can look to invade the jungle, can look to proxy farm. There's a lot that Concept can do at this point as Singed.
Yeah. We'll see how effectively he is able to get out of lane. Worth noting, Singed has a number of okay builds at this point. Righteous Glory is playable. Not Righteous Glory, the Turbo Chem Tank. Oh, Joey!
Joey getting hooked by the dredge line, but he'll be fine. Plays back for Yurasan, who had a nice hook. Can't really do much from it. Has to just wait for the minions because Instinct still needs some of that. You can see he's down. It's Noon Quiver versus just a dagger and longsword for Instinct.
Yeah, and the Noon Quiver doesn't do a whole lot of damage.
This is truly the salty run back. What is going on right now? Chad,
True.
First gank, bot lane, gets rooted, gets pulled back in, but this time it's not working out so well. Has to take an early land to escape.
Okay, yeah, not enough early fighting. Oh, they got Instinct, but a good
nice
cleanse.
Nice.
We'll keep him alive.
And look where Hyper is. Hyper is nearby just in case they tried to reset with more minions. Not going to allow that to happen, but Hyper, is he gonna, no, he can't really do anything. Look at mid lane. Look at how Pretty's able to shove in yet again into Instinct, the only lane that I'd say really is going to be helpful for TSM to contest anything would be on this top side for Viper.
Viper is once again in a very strong position, right? Just like he was last game, but Immortals are going to be the ones who are able to grab the first dragon of the game, and across the board, they do have a small lead despite the fact that Concept is currently falling behind. So I still feel like this game is, as you said, very much reminiscent of the first game. The top lane was not the location of a lot of action. There was not necessarily a whole lot going on there. But with Chad going for the dive bottom side, this time they weren't able to get a kill, which was really important for Immortals' ability to play earlier. And this rocket coming out from Arrow, not doing enough damage, but will keep him away from the ball.
I was about to say, I feel like that's a zoning ult, right? You're saying, go away, Instinct. I'm taking
Leave.
another plate. I want to be able to back. I'm going to continue to harass you in lane otherwise.
You know, normally zoning ults don't work like that, but
What?
this time it does.
I do. What kind of zoning
Well,
ults are you using?
Well, normally zoning ults I feel like are just misses, right?
I mean, if you're
You know,
mad.
I've never missed, but I have been known to fire a warning shot.
See, this is clearly a man who's never played Axiom or Jinx.
Oh, well, I just played on Howling Abyss.
Oh, no, no, you do Axiom Arc on every map. That's the trick.
On every?
Yeah, every map. Yeah.
Every map. Okay, well, I don't know if you could convince me of that just quite yet, but it does
Every
mean that
champion,
Instinct and
by the way.
Yurson.
Every champion.
Oh.
Not-
Okay,
not
well,
one
you
champion.
definitely can't convince me of that. But
One day.
we are still seeing that Instinct has been struggling, right? One of the things that we were saying at the beginning is that Instinct and Yurson haven't yet shown themselves to be one of the stronger laning bottom lanes in Academy, and we are seeing that right now, down 20 CS, down 4 plates, are really going to be struggling because they are also missing an entire crit cloak that is currently in Arrow's inventory. Yurson.
Oh, nice pull on to Pretty there. Hyper was able to get the flash, but it's going to be a lantern to safety, even though he's sticking to the red buff. It's going to be first blood going over to Chad. The resets there. Hyper gets knocked up in the air by the 3 talents. Nice flash on with the crescent strike, but look at Arrow. Perfect placement, perfect time to be able to help out, scare off Viper. They're making sure the Hyper's not going to be able to get the resets, and he's getting a little bit of damage with the kill going over to Pretty.
All right, there we go. Another team fight win going over in favor of Immortals. They take total control, and look at this Concept now taking away Hyper's jungle at this point. Has enough priority that he can just run around, picks up the wolves, and that's going to feel really bad for Hyper when he comes back and just realizes that half of his top side is just missing. This was one of the big things that they were able to do previously in the day, is just deny a lot of jungle camps by taking them away, taking control of all of your opponent's side of the map, and slowly removing one person from the game.
That's right there. Hyper realizes it, uses Wind Becomes Lightning, ping, says, where'd my wolves go? Where?
My wolves.
What happened? Well, yeah, they're gone. Concept took them, and he's not even going to get the recall off.
That sounded so brutal.
Because it hits.
They're gone.
I mean,
they've moved on.
They have. Friendship with Hyper has ended. New friendship with Concept.
Okay. Well, new friendship might be from Hyper, not the kind of friendship that Concept wants. He doesn't have a whole lot of mana to really work with here. He wants to clear this out, but he is potentially at risk of getting dove if he ever leaves the safety of his turret.
He's got Insanity Potions still up. He's fine. And there's Chad, too. There's nothing that could happen there. Even if you tried, it's a Singed. It's so difficult to actually gank him. You never chase the Singed.
I mean, but you can dive him, right? You still have a lot of damage between these two champions.
Another word for chasing.
But is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. 100%. Because you're playing into his hands. That's essentially what the chasing idea is. You're playing into the hands of Singe. There's a rocket, I think, came out again, but no, it didn't. Just saw fight there in mid, but nothing really coming of it.
Not going to have a whole lot to do just quite yet, but we do have another dragon spawning here in about 40 seconds coming out. We saw Immortals able to take a lot of these last time. They even got the Elder to close out the game, but
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Demonic Embrace, first item from Concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I mean, it's a decent Singed item, but it's not something that you tend to see first very often.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that as well. Nice death sentence coming in from Joey. Nice box, nice placement, nice kill for Chad.
Okay. Do they even stop this Rift Herald?
Yeah.
Oh
yes, they
my
do.
god, that's the second time today!
Yeah, 2 games in a row, Immortals denies a Rift Herald play for TSM.
Yeah, and they're also doing it at the perfect time, right? They're doing this as the dragon is spawning, so even though they use up all of their ultimates in order to get that kill onto Yurson and deny the Rift Herald from crashing, they're also doing it at a time when they can just go over to the Rift Herald because they know that Yurson can't contest because he's just coming out of the fountain. So Immortals are just kind of winning all across the board in ways that we weren't necessarily expecting.
No, it's really interesting to see this change come in from Immortals with the lack of change. It's like the early game played out pretty similarly, but you just have a better mid lane matchup, and look at how much more that Immortals can do right out of the gates. There's no play to deny Pretty the early laning phase that he wanted on Victor. That means they're not going to be able to play around Hyper versus Chad, Xin Zhao versus Viego, which means you don't really have anything you can do in the spot lane early on either.
Yeah, but Instinct, we were saying again that they weren't necessarily the best laning AD carry, but they were really good at playing with relatively low resources. And now, you know, he's not as far behind as he used to be, at least not in terms of CS, right? He's recovered a lot of that, but losing the entire carry is still not the greatest thing in the world. But it does mean that he does have his Mythic at a reasonable timing. He will be able to play through the rest of this game. And just like last time, or unlike last time, rather, there's not super obvious ways for them to get access to this Aphelios.
That is true. It is a little difficult to actually get back to Aphelios, to Instinct. Outside of maybe Concept just running at them, Chad over the wall too. Those are ways, I guess.
Yeah, but there's other targets too, right? Like you could go for Instinct, but you could also go for Takeover, or you could just, you know, throw a Hyper and Viper around and...
Well, the thing is, we got a Riftmaker now completed for Viper. It's a lot more difficult to actually kill that Gwen, especially because there's a good amount of range on the side of Immortals, both Jinx and Victor. That means they have to get really close in order to do anything really to this Gwen, which plays into the hands of TSM. It allows them to try to see if they can catch Immortals slightly out of position.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, we also have to pay attention to the fact that both these champions do a very similar thing, where it's like, hey, you aren't in the circle, well, too bad, you don't get to hit me. But we also have Corki here, he has package.
Right now, they're looking for a play. They've got everyone bunched up, but it's going to be the Smite Secure. Work Chat. Needlework comes out. That's the package right on top of the I2, but it's going to be a nice lantern out of there. Concept, he's going to be the target, even though you shouldn't chase him that time. They're going to be able to kill off Concept.
All right, well, it is going to be a worthwhile trade for IMT. They are going to give a Concept, like you said, and now they're moving into the mid lane, and they are not going to make the same mistake that TSM did with their Rift Herald. Going to be picking up another structure for themselves.
Position right now. Going to be able to get this done. The rocket comes out, but it's only on Takeover. That could be a secondary charge for Shelly at the moment. They're making sure to deny any fight coming back from TSM. Immortals Progressive have got TSM right where they want them.
In a fantastic position. We do have to pay attention to, again, the range differential that will eventually come through, and the fact that the range champions on IMT should struggle to do damage to the melee champions on TSM because of the way that they work. But Takeover, very bold walking forward.
It's a bait. He knew that he had Hyper on the other side right there, too. It's like Joey plays back, so that way Pretty can play up, so he can get out.
True. Yeah, good communication. Keeps them all alive, but they are going to be taking away even more of Hyper's jungle, and it kind of feels bad, right, for all the jungle players who are like, it's not even my fault. I didn't lose control of the game on my own. It was a team effort. But they're the ones who tend to be the most impacted by the team starting to lose. So IMT doing a good job really punishing Hyper, who we now see is almost 2,000 gold down.
Yeah, 2,000 gold there, 1,000 gold for Arrow over Instinct in the bot lane. Jinx being this far ahead at this point of the game. It's a good lead. It's a sizable lead to have for Jinx, for Arrow as well, to be able to lord that over an Aphelios.
Yeah, we also have to pay attention to the fact that with the Mountain Dragon coming up soon, the Mountain Dragon, definitely the strongest of any of the individual dragons. You pick up one of them because the way that armor and magic resist work, they scale linearly, but when you get a multiplier added on top of that, because the dragons give percentage increased armor and magic resist, it makes you so much tankier than you would be otherwise. And if you can get both of them, it is very difficult for you to kill.
Speaking of difficult to kill, Arrow had the lantern to escape if need be. Saw Takeover roaming towards this mid lane. As all of TSM are starting to group up around this dragon. Control point potential there for Immortals. That is a lot of leverage to be able to have against TSM, forcing them constantly to play around that later on to the game. That's why you see TSM already early on, trying to see if they can defend the objective.
And we are also seeing jockeying here for the mid lane. Ooh, ultimate does end up missing, but TSM, they're able to push this wave a little bit faster.
Nice pull into Chad, but nobody can follow that up. Not just yet. They've got the Chaos Storm burning. They've got the TP coming in from Concept, but it's pretty far behind. Needlework doing a lot of damage, but Yursan's going to be the first casualty with the rocket getting excited. Jinx Arrow trying to chase this one down, looking for Hyper, waiting for the slow to come through. There it is with the gravity field as well, but it's a Crescent Strike to deny a lot of the damage with a flip back over the wall. It's going to be Arrow picking up the kill.
Remember what I said about the obnoxious slipstream? It is so difficult to get away from Concept when he runs the Predator right here, Magical. Zoom indeed, and it is going to be another Dragon going over to IMT, and this time without the crazy mid lane mismatch that we were seeing with the Tryndamere earlier, it is so difficult for IMT to do anything.
And that turret might fall to the minions. One more minion, you got it! The minion did it! Woo!
Woo! Go minion!
Respect to that minion, man! You
Hardest
honor that
working
minion.
on the Rift.
Honor that minion after the game.
Okay,
You should be
take
able to
over.
honor minions. Just saying. Minions need more respect.
Where's my trade union?
See, I'm not even
Minion
mentioning
union.
that Takeover was able to secure the blue buff because it's not as important to me as the minion.
All right, I do have a fun fact for you on the topic of
I'll
unions and
determine whether
minions.
it's fun or not. Go on.
Okay, so I went to the University of Washington.
Yeah.
As my alma mater, and our League of Legends club there was called the Union of Purple Caster Minions.
Respect. Mad respect for that one.
Okay, there we go. Like the whole,
That
maybe
was-
not
that
as fun
was-
as you were hoping,
hey,
but
no,
it was
no,
good.
no. You know what? That's a fun fact. That's a fun fact.
Yeah, it is a fun fact.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
You
Shout
got-
out
you gotta
to
call
any
flat.
UW peeps in chat. All right, well, we are noting that it looks like Concept is building the same
Oh.
thing as he would if he was a Collie.
Uh-oh. Pretty did not realize.
Pretty.
Oh, nice
Good flash.
Nice flash there from Pretty. The reaction time. Pretty from Pretty.
Aha, Yursan, he has no flash.
No, but he's got the dredge line. Oh, no, unfortunately. That's just dead.
He's got the dredge line, but not enough friends.
Nope. Need more friends.
Need more friends.
I mean, there's no real reason to even talk about that one. It was just, Yursan, it was a good attempt with the flash away from Pretty. Meant that everyone from IMT was able to rotate around, kill him immediately. Everyone had bailed. They had left the Nautilus alone, all by him lonesome. And that allows now Immortals to take another structure. There's only one outer turret remaining.
Yeah, it feels like Yursan in particular is trying to make plays happen, and unfortunately, because the rest of his team isn't always in the same mindset to make these plays, he's kind of the one suffering for it. So even though he's 0-4-1, I don't feel like his performance is necessarily that poor, right? It's one of those situations where it feels like he's making a lot of the right decisions, or he's going for a lot of plays, and whether or not it's the right play, the rest of the team isn't on the same page.
Well, the thing is that when we look at Yursan, this is why I mentioned before how he likes to play these engaged type of supports. It's Nautilus was okay last year, but it was really the Alistar that he got his name on, that everyone looked at him as the support that you could always rely to start these fights, because he was always extra tanky. Even if he got caught out like that, it'd take so much longer to actually be able to kill him with the help of the ult.
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right. I thought there was about to be a fight there, but yeah, that's something that Yursan has always been pretty good at, is finding these really big engages and these knockups. Unfortunately, when you're behind and your Corki isn't fully online yet, it's really hard to go for a lot of these plays. But now that Takeover...
I've seen
what?
this build before from Concept. That looks familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the Akali build, but now it's on the Singe, and he does a very similar thing. He just brawls.
Oh no,
Yursan.
That was not what you wanted to do. That was a hook that you land. You're like, oh boy, this ain't gonna be pretty.
Yeah, he deserved that one.
Now it's gonna be Hyper. He's gonna be the next target. They're right within the Crescent Strike, so they can flip him back right to the team and get Pretty a double kill. Hyper and Viper, wait a minute. Viper was able to pick up 2 kills on the other side. They got a kill over to Instinct with the kill over to Viper, but it was still Arrow on a rampage at this moment.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to see exactly how Viper took over the backside of the fight because I was still watching, what Chad was doing. But the fact that they were able to pick up a couple of kills on the backside of that is really good for them because there's definitely shutdowns available for the members of TSM that they were able to grab. And if Viper can become a really big threat in this game and just stand in the way of Pretty and Arrow, it will give the rest of his team a lot more time to play.
Plus, some gold was picked up for Instinct with that kill as well. Was able to just stay safe, even though Hirosan died for a 5th time this game. They're able to get the gold into the proper inventories. They're able to get gold for Aphelios, gold for Corki, even gold for Viper, as you were talking about.
Yeah, but is it going to be enough, Alex? We have 30 seconds until the next dragon actually spawns. And I know one of you in Twitch is like, oh, but Joshi, it says 35 seconds. But it is 30 seconds on the clock, and we still have all of TSM. They need to contest this. It is so difficult for them to ever take a fight if they give over the Mountain Soul, and crucially, there is no takeover package this time around. They don't have this big team fight tool. They don't have access to Pretty and Arrow, and it's going to rely on Yerson finding a big engage.
Yerson lands the hook. Again, one you don't want to actually land. It's just going to be the pullback in onto Viper. He's got the zone, though, to be able to play with. The needlework damage coming out, but you got to be careful because now he's lost that zone with the Chaos Storm burning on top of him. The kill going over to Chad with the rocket, connecting onto all 4 members of TSM. Tried to now re-disengage.
Oh, Chad.
They're getting pulled back in. Chad's taking a lot of damage. They're kiting it back. They're going to be able to get the kill over to Takeover as they chase down the rest of Immortals, who are pretty low. Only Pretty's got a pretty good amount of health.
Yeah, there was a lot of poke coming through from Takeover during that entire fight, and it looks like it might be enough in order to create enough space for them to pick up this dragon. Pretty still trying to run around to contest it, but without Chad's smite.
Back in concept here. Joey might be low, but it is still going to be a fight over it. The objective bounty picked up, but flipped right into the chompers with a kill going over to both carries on the side of Immortals. Moonlight Vigil, gonna get the slow, gonna get the root, but not gonna pick up any kills.
Okay, but that is going to be a couple of kills for IMT. They knock down Hyper, and with Chad spawning back in just a couple of seconds, they should be able to at least try and threaten this upcoming Baron. They have a lot of members already resetting. They have a lot of gold to spend. And look at this. Concept moving over, clearing out a lot of vision. It's going to make it very difficult for TSM to try and approach if they are trying to play for this. Pretty does have the teleport, and yeah, look at this. IMT already on the way. They are here. They are going to take this down, and without Hyper's smite available, this one should be a lot easier to secure.
You can even see that Viper isn't even positioning to try to contest. They don't have vision control. They don't really have a good way to secure this, especially with how fast Immortals can really take down these objectives. There's not a real good reason to even try to move towards that side of the map.
Yeah. Does Chad, like, sneakily? Yeah, he got it.
Yeah, he does.
That's just rude. Just
the wolves
rude.
don't belong to you, Hyper. Oh, you talked about this earlier.
Come on, Max. Maximilian. Chad. That's the same person. Oh, Viper finds Joey.
Well, then. Well, then.
Well.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't get to see the start of that,
No.
but Joey ends up falling down, and it is going to mean a lot of time here. Instinct should be able to pick up this turret as well. Another objective bounty going in favor of TSM. They are still down very far, right? 7,000 gold, but every time they get a little bit more money, they become a little bit scarier for the upcoming fight. It means that Corki gets a little bit closer to his next item, and Corki does, he does this one thing, and that is damage. And he does a lot of damage. But the big thing is always going to be, will he be able to leverage it? Will he be able to actually hit targets? Because he hasn't been able to do that super effectively in the last couple of fights.
Not yet, at least. We're going to have to keep our eyes on these next upcoming fights, because you got to give respect over to TSM. Despite Arrow having a sizable lead over Instinct, they're starting to get gold into the right places. They're getting more gold on Takeover, who's relatively even against Pretty. Viper is slightly ahead of Concept. It's only Instinct now that they got to make up that difference against Arrow.
That's a big difference to make up, though, right? 101, 506, 3 items and change compared to 2.5. Makes it very difficult for Instinct to catch up, and Arrow's so strong, and just watch like how much damage he does to this turret, just like walking up. Yeah, he takes a lot of damage from like that rocket, but does it matter when all you need to do is take down the turret? You don't necessarily need to fight them for it if they're not going to defend.
Exactly, because you have the Baron to push it back. You have the advantages in pretty much most of the lanes, with mid lane shoving in as well. There's not really much that TSM can do. They have to just wait. They have to be patient. They have to burn out the Baron timer on Immortals to be able to feel a little bit more confident and actually push out of the base.
Yeah, Magical, as they start to come in now, it's going to be very difficult for them to try and to go for
Nice.
Yurson. Good attempt.
I do like the attempt. I like that they got the flash off of the Arrow, because that is the one that if you kill and slay Arrow, you can easily win another team fight. That's why I wanted to bring up the severe discrepancy that Instinct has against Arrow, because that's also where all the gold is for Immortals. That's where most of the lead is. And if you can kill the carry, that is going to be a big win condition you can fall back onto. The only problem is, how the hell do you actually get there when there's all these minions in front just wailing away on your base?
It's almost impossible, right? The big thing is that they don't lose the inhibitor, but the teleport coming behind, who's that?
That's going to
Viper.
be Viper, but that is going to be Immortals reading where a play could have been attempted. Instead, going the long way just to make sure there wasn't going to be a flank from Gwen.
All right. Good play coming through from them. They have a little bit more control of the map, and hey, they're here first. Takeover has the package. Going to just be continuing to move forward, and IMT looking to back away at the moment. Concept doesn't have to rivalize, but he should be tanky enough that it's really hard to chase him. I think you're back. Okay. You spooked me.
We're back here, and we're getting ready. Nice pull onto Joey. Takes a lot of damage with the help of the Even Shrouder. The package, though, that's not really getting any damage that you need to. They're going to be able to hit over the Viper as they look for more members. Arrow, the target, double kill coming in from Viper. Waiting for more. They're going to be able to silence Viper, but it's going to be flashing from Instinct. He's got to be careful. Chad's going to be able to peel and steal his skin to look to see if he can take down Takeover. Chasing this back, waiting it out, but Takeover, he'll be alive for now.
It's so hard for Takeover to contest this at this point. Great play from Instinct to try and find the kill at the end. Big shutdown, but at this point, like, it has to be a miracle rocket coming out from Takeover. And I've seen crazier things, but Chad doing a good job body blocking, making sure it's not possible for Takeover to take away the dragon. And the Mountain Soul going to be going over right now towards IMT. A crazy fight in the mid game, potentially looking good for TSM, but not good enough.
Not good enough. Not able to stop that Soul from going over to IMT. So TSM now, even though it was a good shutdown, it was a good pick onto Arrow. That, to me, is the highlight of that fight. Getting the proper gold into the proper places. Viper being able to pick up a lot of that gold. He already had a lead over Concept, so now he can split push. But it's still a long way to go. 8,000 behind with a Mountain Soul now picked up for someone as tanky as Concept. And you already see that Chad is not taking nearly as much damage from Takeover because of that Wit's End, and now he's got a Death Dance.
Yeah, it's really difficult to take down Chad at this point. I think, in general, the thing that we have to pay attention to, though, Alex, is just as, like, last game, we saw a pretty big throw coming through from TSM, gifting IMT the win.
Oh, but Viper, not Viper. Viper getting caught out by Pretty, chased down even with the Crescent Strike. He's just waiting it out. He goes golden. The Rocket going to go wide with the Gravity Field placed down. That's going to be the laser point dominating, nearly solo kill out of Pretty.
Yeah, the Cosmic Drive giving him so much movement speed, and with Viper trying to push up the mid lane, denying these waves, Concept just runs on in.
Yeah, and honestly, Immortals might be able to end this game. That's why Viper, he's finally recalling, but it's late. It's going to be a lot that they now have to fight back against us. Minions are still there for the side of Immortals. They've got Jinx, they've got her protected. They've got Joey, though. Joey's going to be the first casualty, trading for Yurson with a lot of damage, going back onto Concept, going to look for the explosive damage out of Instinct. Arrow still, though, he's got that Guardian's Angel to be able to fall back onto. So Immortals, they recall, they're going to get out of this fight. They've already gotten the inhibitor.
Yeah, Viper and Instinct are playing these fights really, really effectively, and it is giving them some hope, right? Yurson at this point is just trying to trade himself 1-for-1. He trades himself for Joey in that fight, and Concept just tries to create enough space, but he's also got the Rylai's now, more obnoxious tools available on Pretty. We've already seen him run down one person. He is so fast.
But it's a little bit more difficult to actually kill Instinct. With Hyper, you can actually chase him down. He's got one item. He's got one item on this Xin Zhao. It's tragic, but not for Instinct. He's got 3 items. They put far more gold and resources into their solo laners to make sure these are going to be the players that can carry through the game. But Immortals are making sure that TSM constantly have to contest against them, constantly have to play into their hands.
Yeah, But if they do this for 3 more minutes, if the Older Dragon ever spawns, even if Immortals is able to force TSM to come into them, it just takes a 50-50 smite coming out from Hyper to lose the game. Here goes Chad.
Looking for that dredge line. It's going to be Takeover that they focus
Grounded.
on too. They got the grounded effect shut down
Go to
for
your room.
Concept. And they've got minions here to spare with open inhibitors. They can easily now crack open the base of TSM and crack open a 2-0 sweep of TSM.
Look at that. It's what we were saying. Concept finally bringing it to fruition. The W prevents Corey from getting away and looking to end the game.
One more fight. They've got the depth charge with the lantern right there for Arrow to be able to get back easily. They instead turn their attention on to Viper and they flay him right back into Pretty's hands. Legendary with a nice slow. Rocket 2. They're back at their base. They can't defend. Every inhibitor is gone for TSM. We're getting a sweep here today. No 1-1s across the board. Instead, it's Immortals looking for one final fight. Joey jumped on by Hyper, but he's got no damage. He's got no items. What can he do here except watch his base fall apart? The IMT, he jumps into the back line, but he still dies to Pretty. Instinct 2 going to be the next casualty. Make it a double kill. Make it 3 kills in total for IMT as they sweep 2-0 TSM.
Oh boy. I love the very end where Takeover tries to use the package and goes back and forth, but I do really want to highlight how well so many of the members of IMT played this. Pretty Chad looked so strong across this entire series. And Takeover, on the other hand, like we saw both Takeover and Instinct have a pretty good series as well. And this is what we always like to look at. It's not necessarily always about the individual, the wins in Academy. Some teams use it to try and win, but a lot of teams are using it to develop players. And we get to see why they selected so many of these players in order to try and develop them. Takeover, Instinct, we're looking pretty good. Yurson had a rough game too, but that doesn't mean that that's it for them. There's got a lot more tape to go back and continue learning. Academy, I mean, it sounds like school. That's what it is.
Pretty much, you just review the footage, see where you went wrong, try to fix up those mistakes going into your next series.
Yeah. And Immortals, I mean, top of the class right now, right? That doesn't mean they're always going to be there. It is going to be graded on a curve in the long run because they have a lot more teams left to play, but that was a very strong game, too, coming out from Immortals. We saw some very strong games back and forth across all of our series today, and I'm excited to see what more we have because there's still more League of Legends to be played.
Exactly. And there's even more of the stream to come. We're going to toss it to a quick break, but we'll be back with Mazel to break down this game a little bit further. And hopefully, maybe we'll see if we can get an interview rocking and rolling. So stick around. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here after a wonderful day of League of Legends. We've had 4 back-to-back games, and now we are here to finish it off. I'm Azel, joined by Joshi and Mad Magical. How you guys feeling after the day? I just got to get your tempers here, your pulses after a day number 1 of Academy 2022.
Where's my center support? Come on, guys. You've already failed me.
I feel honestly really even keel. I came into the day looking for a lot of good League of Legends, and I feel like that's what I got, right? There's obviously a lot more that these players are looking to learn, and I feel like we got to see both some of the highs that we're going to be expecting from Academy and some of the lows, and it does mean that we are living up to expectations. All of the gameplay is going to be great. All of our players have so much more that they can be doing, and some of them already are just there to show off what it really means to just play at this level.
Yeah, wacky, goofy, and good. Those are the words that I like to use. We are going to throw it up to a schedule of tomorrow's games, where we'll be back on this stream for 2 more best of 2 series. It's going to be the entire schedule graphic, okay? So we do have a full slate of games, just like we do today, going on tomorrow, as Academy is going to be those 2 days a week until we get to the Super Weeks. But this is a pretty stacked slate of games, man. The C9 versus TSM matchup. We've got IMT going against EG. It's going to be fun.
There's a lot of games there that I'm like, yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll be honest. I'm just excited for Academy. I'm glad the season's
I know,
back.
just having League of Legends.
Just having League of Legends back. It's just fun. If you can't tell, even with like the delays and stuff on our audio, it's just been a fun day to be back here to be able to talk about League of Legends and talk about these Academy players. Because honestly, it's hard to really be able to size anyone up until you truly see them play. You can make all these predictions you want in the off season, but things change. You know, you have staff behind you that are telling you new things. You could go on a new team. We've already seen that today. We talked about a lot of the players on new teams. So it can really impact how you will go into the next year, just being on either a whole new roster, even if you retain the same organization, or a whole new organization with similar players on that team.
So I want to go through one last time before we do send it over to the other stream. I want one take from both of you guys on who stood out to you, what was a standout story. Joshi, you go first.
Honestly, to me, just like watching this, I still have really, really high opinions coming through of Arrow. Right?
Yeah,
I think this was one game where he looked really, really strong. And again, there's a lot of back and forth on how strong this guy is. Is he LCS ready? Is he somebody that teams made a mistake not picking up? I'm still convinced of that. This maybe isn't the only player on his team that has opportunities to rise higher, but I still really feel like this is a guy that chose to stay in NA. He played through the amateur series just to show that he is dedicated to staying here, and I think he's probably earned a spot.
Definitely so. What about you, Magical?
Okay, so I have 2 takes. We'll have the serious take and we'll have the magical take. So which one would you like to start with first?
As long as they're quick.
Well, which one do you want me to start with? Which one do you want me to start
Whichever one. Whatever floats your boat.
Serious.
We'll go with magical, just because Trendamere, Corki, Flex, love it. Gotta love it. Can't say it. I can't not say how much I love that pick. That was just beautiful. Anyways, who I really want to focus on with the serious one is Ryoma. I think Ryoma is showing a lot of his strengths, even though it was a rough series. That first game, he lost, but solo killing his opponent, Jimmy N, showing up into NA, getting solo killed immediately in his first game here. That's a good showing out of Ryoma and shows the power that this player has.
It definitely does. I'm just excited because we actually got to see some good darn League of Legends today. And representing the Academy seem well are these teams. And, you know, it's just day number 1. And speaking of, it's not even over yet. We have another stream continuing on right now. The game's continuing here as they are still in their second series. And it is some new Academy player named Bjergsen going up against the tried and true Soligo. I mean, we obviously know which way that matchup's going to go.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting period now over there for TL as Harry's still stuck over in Australia. But, you know, when they can upgrade from Bjergsen to Harry, I think Team Liquid should be looking just fine.
I think so as well. I like it. Well, go ahead and go over to twitch.tv/academy as we're going to be watching the rest of the games, and you should too. We'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.
Bye.